All these white folks on Facebook losing their minds over the fact that Hannah said cracker about Brent. And on the episode, she didn't even call him a cracker. She was making a comparison that he thinks he's all that in a bag of chips, but he's barely a cracker. And of course, the whites, these other white people that get on my fucking nerves, are just having a meltdown because they've been having a meltdown this whole season because there is an all black alliance. Oh, whatever will the whites do? It doesn't even surprise me anymore how ridiculous white people are these days to feel like they are also oppressed in some way. Oh, you got to see 22 seasons of big white alliances. I don't feel sorry for fucking Jane in fucking bumfuck Illinois, okay? Now I need to talk about Brittany first because I don't think, look, I criticized her a lot yesterday and I still think it's deserved. I don't think you can blame all of Brittany's annoying qualities on her autism. In fact, I think that's pretty fucked up to compare all, or just to say that anything Brittany does that is annoying is because she's autistic. Nah, I don't think that fits at all. I do think that anybody criticizing her for being awkward in a lot of situations, then yes. Or people who keep saying that they hope she's on the block every week so she could keep having meltdowns, I think that is probably fucked up. But in this game, she is using her emotions as strategy. She only turns on the waterworks when it's to try to emotionally manipulate someone who she thinks she can manipulate. It's either with Azza, Derek F, Alyssa, Christian, or Whitney. I don't think she really tries to emotional manipulate anyone else. So the fact that she's also trying to use it as a strategy is where I think she's fair game to be shit on. Okay? And I think just using autism as an excuse for everything she does, that doesn't work either. I think that is also a bad look. I am glad though that Azza broke away from fucking Brittany today. I think she's tired of Brittany's emotional meltdowns and has just moved on to become not just more social, but just realize that Brittany, when she's upset, will throw anybody under the bus. Either way, I think Brittany's entitlement and the fact that she wants to be safe for the next 21 days because she's just been an easy pawn for 2 weeks is insane. Brittany is not dumb. She is playing the game and she needs to be criticized just like everybody else. Now, I've been talking a lot of shit about the queens the last few days or the last several days, mostly Tiffany and Claire, all well deserved. I'm not going to do it as much today. I think I've beat it into the ground at this point this week. I'll give it a couple days rest. I still have a couple things to talk about, but I just feel like the Queen's biggest issue over the past week plus has been their ego. Ever since Kyland won that HOH and Claire and Tiffany felt safe and started overplaying and made all these alliances so they could try and play the middle, even though they overcomplicated it all. Their ego has been what has gotten in the way because they feel safe. But all they needed to do, even though they overdid it, was just give it a few days rest at least. You don't need to be playing every day and making new alliances every day. Tiffany wanted to make a new alliance today. A final four with fucking Derek X and Hannah and I think Kyland. Just enough with the alliances. It's honestly a joke at this point. But because of Tiffany and her lying and keeping info from Azza and causing issues between her and Azza, the cookout has definitely been on a bit of a spiral. I do feel like Tiffany has tried to put even a target on Azza's back, but I think Kyland and Xavier trying to come to the rescue and save the cookout. Alyssa, well, what do I want to get into first? I guess I need to just talk about the fact that Ozza and Kylan finally had a breakthrough talk. These two have never been that close, always been a little suspicious of the other. And it's why Kylan was getting on my nerves when I've been talking to some of these videos about how he was such a crybaby and paranoid in week one, but he's criticizing Ozza this week for being emotional. But today they talked, and I do think they had a breakthrough for Kylan to finally understand why Ozza is having the emotional week, because the only other person that Ozza is close to in this house that isn't in the cookout is Brittany. And she explained to Kylan he's going to understand that when they start going down the line, cutting Kylan's non cookout alliances, he's going to feel the same way. It's not going to be as easy for him. And I think Kylan knows this. Kylan knows he's emotional and he knows he's super fucking paranoid. So I think Kylan finally understood this. And Tiffany's going to have to find some other direction because she's the only one upset with us in the cookout now. Kylan was her only backup. And I really think it just complicates Tiffany's long game even more now, because if the cookout does all make it to the jury, Tiffany is now pushed Ozza to be close to Xavier and Kylan, and she's already close to Derek F. And Derek F's already talking about if they get down to 6, he wants to go after Tiffany first. So Tiffany has. I don't think Tiffany's clearest path is the cookout. That's why she's always trying to make 20 fucking alliances a day. So then today, Derek X put in work trying to make sure Hannah's name stayed out of people's mouths. He wants to put the target on Alyssa and Christian, the boring, boring, boring showmans. I mean, really, they keep them on the feed so much, and it's like nobody wants to see them make out or cuddle, or even they keep the feeds on them when they're making out under a blanket and we can't even see them. I mean, what is the point? Nobody wants to see them make out in general, let alone under a fucking blanket. But anyway, back to Derek X, who I'm glad woke up today to start to see he needs to start playing his own game a little more rather than just always relying on what Tiffany says. You know, Tiffany has this alliance, the Royal Flush, which is the Queens and the Kings and Derek X. And because of that alliance, the Queens always want to save the showmans for now. They want to target Whitney. But Derek X wants to save Whitney and Hannah, his only two teammates left after Brent gets the boot this week. So Derek X went to the Jokers and tried to make sure they have their sights set on Alyssa and Christian, the showmans. And then he went to Alyssa and Christian and tried to convince them that maybe it's best for them to just throw the next HOH to his team, either Hannah or Whitney. And he knows Hannah and Whitney would also take a shot at Christian and Alyssa. But in order for Derek X to do this, he's trying to convince them that they need to put up Whitney with one of the Jokers, likely Ozza or Brittany. But because of this, Alyssa now wants to target Ozza because they don't really talk game. She thinks that would be best for her game. And maybe, although I don't know if you could put Ozza and Whitney on the block together and hope Ozza goes. I mean, Ozza's definitely made herself a bigger target with all her emotions, but a lot of people want to target Whitney. Well, Alyssa told this to Christian, and Christian will probably listen to whatever Alyssa wants to do. Christian's not really has anybody he wants out himself, I don't think. I think Christian is just going with whatever right now, trying to be as under the radar as possible, which is kind of working. Because I still wonder if Alyssa and Christian are on the block together, does Alyssa go over Christian? I think probably. as of right now. But when Xavier catches wind that Ozza could be a target for the showmance, him and Kylan kick it into gear, ready to save the cookout. I think those two are definitely the saviors of the cookout, while, you know, Tiffany's kind of trying to fuck it up, and Ozza's being so goddamn emotional. But thankfully, Kylan, I think, cleared up a lot with Ozza in that department. And honestly, Derek F is also back on track. I think Derek Frazier has grown on me a lot over the past week and a half. Once Frenchie's been gone, his game has already gotten better in my eyes. He's playing the game now for sure. So now Xavier is trying to convince the showmance once again that Whitney is the more dangerous target. And Kylan and the Queens already are targeting Whitney. And I think he'll have Sarah Beth on board with that, but Sarah Beth does not want to win the next HOH. Sarah Beth's just trying to be under the radar. I do think Sarah Beth is starting to finally realize that the teams are ending in a week and a half, and her game isn't really as great as people think it is. Yes, she's safe right now, and she's not really anybody's main target, but she also just has no agency in this game whatsoever. As for Whitney's game, I just wish she would have talked more to Ozza at some point in this game. They just did not connect. And now both of them are on the outs. What really needs to happen in this game is the aces and jokers need to have a real sit down talk and start to realize, just obviously they need to take a shot at the kings because they have 4 players, which I think is obvious to a lot of people anyway. But I just don't. The only person that could make that happen is Derek X, and I still think he is trying to play it safe because it's still 2 weeks until jury. But I don't know. I don't know what's best for Derek X's game right now. I think he knows what's best for his game, and one of the people from the showmans need to go. But I don't know if he's going to pull that off. Right now, it looks like the main target would be Whitney, and then backups being either Brittany or Ozza. But we shall see. I think even the jokers right now would rather target Whitney over the showmans, which I don't really understand at all. Alas, that is where we stand in the Big Brother house. There's still a long way until the next HOH, however. But for now, that is what has been going on. Just one more thing about the cookout. It's such an interesting dynamic because the cookout just cannot, they don't meet as a team ever. They still have not all 6 been in the same room strategizing. So, that's why some people in the cookout have felt like they're not in the know because they're not in the know because there's not a whole lot of great communication with the cookout. But at the same time, that's why it's working because nobody suspects it's a thing. But at the same time, it's why these stupid fucking white people, these stupid Frenchie like hicks on Facebook, these annoying white people that get on my nerves, can't see that even in this game, this season, that the Black Alliance still has to work so secretive because if not, they would be seen as a huge threat. And it's much easier for big white alliances to still be able to secretly have meetings. Okay? Okay.